I really, really enjoy looking at attractive women. Like, I want to see every version of an attractive woman. You know, hot, short, tall, long, skinny, big girl, small girl, all pretty stuff. I could do that all day. I could just sit and look.
This baby. I have to do my show.
I can't help it, Your Honor.
Oh my God, did you just call me Your Honor?
Yeah.
Babe.
Baby.
Baby. Babe, you're so epic.
Oh, you're so punk.
Oh, you are. Oh.
Something strange started happening the moment 50 Cent began posting cryptic thoughts about power, influence, and the hidden side of fame. At first, it didn't seem unusual. After all, he has built a reputation on calling out the industry and exposing uncomfortable truths. But this time, the internet reacted differently. Screenshots spread faster than context, and suddenly people began connecting.
So it looks like, guys, the Kardashians are being exposed when it comes to the Epstein files and what is going on. And yes, I have gone on the Department of Justice website myself to see if these articles are true, and it is. There is a PDF that has just been uploaded via a basically victim statement that has come forward, a victim complaint submitted in the case tied to Ghislaine. And in this, the Kardashians are heavily mentioned and
dots that were never officially linked. And then, unexpectedly, the name Kim Kardashian entered the conversation. Not through evidence, not through confirmed reports, but through speculation, interpretation, and viral momentum. This is where things took a turn. Because when two global figures like them appear in the same online narrative, the scale of attention becomes uncontrollable. The algorithm doesn't care about truth. It rewards engagement. And engagement thrives on mystery, shock, and controversy. Within hours, forums, social media threads, and video platforms began building a story that felt real, even without proof. That is the power of modern digital storytelling. It doesn't wait for facts. It creates its own version of reality. And as millions watched, shared, and reacted, one question kept growing louder. Why now? Why these names? And who is driving this sudden wave of attention? Because in today's media landscape, timing is never accidental. Every viral moment has a trigger, even if it's hidden beneath layers of speculation. And what you're about to see is how one narrative, built entirely on interpretation, managed to dominate conversations across the internet.
What if I told you 50 Cent just dropped a bomb on the internet? He leaked never-before-seen footage of Kanye and Kim from Diddy's private party. The clip shows some awkward and heated moments between the exes, and fans are losing their minds trying to decode the drama. Kim didn't stay silent either. She clapped back hard with a cryptic post. This a publicity stunt or a real betrayal? Do you think 50 Cent went too far this time, or was he just exposing the truth?
To understand how this story exploded, you need to understand the psychology of viral content. When Kim Kardashian trends, it is never small. Her name carries years of media dominance, business success, and constant visibility. She is not just a celebrity. She is a global brand. On the other side, 50 Cent represents something completely different. He is unpredictable, outspoken, and known for saying what others avoid. When those two worlds collide, even indirectly, the internet reacts instantly. It starts with a single clip, often taken out of context. Then comes a caption designed to provoke curiosity. Then reactions, theories, and breakdown videos. Each step adds another layer to the narrative. But here's the truth most people ignore. None of this confirms anything. It only amplifies perception. And perception, once it spreads, becomes incredibly difficult to control. This is exactly what happened in this case. People began revisiting old interviews, analyzing expressions, and connecting unrelated moments into one continuous storyline. The result? A narrative that feels complete.
now, I don't think there's anything authentic about Kim Kardashian wanting to become a lawyer. This sudden change that she's inspired by her late father, I'm not buying this excuse. This moral compass that she's suddenly grown through her bones, I really don't understand. And I think that it's always being nothing short of performative.
Even though it was never officially built. This is how modern rumors evolve. Not through evidence, but through repetition. And once repetition reaches a certain level, it creates something powerful: belief. Even without facts, belief can shape public opinion. And when public opinion shifts, it affects everything. Careers, reputations, and narratives all begin to move in response. This is no longer just about celebrities. It's about influence, attention, and how quickly digital culture can reshape reality.
and then I will read out specifically word for word verbatim in the documents as well. The complainant complains that Maxwell had a close relationship with the Kardashian sisters and that they actually assisted in the use of the complainant's identity. So identity fraud here. The filing references rumors of the complainant's eggs being used for pregnancy, suggesting possible...
There is a reason why stories like this gain traction so quickly. It's not just about the names involved. It's about the emotional reaction they trigger. When audiences hear something unexpected about figures like Kim Kardashian, curiosity immediately turns into engagement. People want to know more even if there is nothing concrete to confirm. And when someone like 50 Cent is part of the conversation, the intensity doubles. His history of public feuds and bold statements adds credibility to speculation, even when no direct accusation exists. This creates a dangerous cycle. The more people react, the more the content spreads. The more it spreads, the more it feels real. And eventually, the original context disappears completely. What remains is a version of the story shaped entirely by audience interpretation. This is where misinformation quietly enters the picture. Not as a clear lie, but as an evolving narrative that feels convincing. And because it is built piece by piece, it becomes harder to challenge. People don't see it as speculation anymore. They see it as something that must be true, simply because everyone is talking about it. This is the power of collective attention. It doesn't need proof to exist. It only needs momentum. And once momentum takes over, even the biggest celebrities can't control how they are perceived. That is exactly what makes this situation so fascinating. It is not about what actually happened. It is about how quickly a story can form, grow, and dominate conversations without ever being officially confirmed. The digital world operates on a simple rule: the more shocking something sounds, the faster it spreads. That is why narratives involving powerful figures like Kim Kardashian instantly capture attention. Her influence reaches beyond entertainment into business, law, and global culture. So when her name appears in any controversial discussion, it automatically gains weight. At the same time, 50 Cent has built a brand around fearlessness. He speaks openly, challenges others, and rarely avoids conflict. This combination creates the perfect environment for viral speculation. But here is what most people miss. The internet does not distinguish between fact and interpretation. It treats both as content. And content, once it performs well, gets pushed further. This is why even unverified claims can dominate timelines. They generate clicks, comments, and reactions. And those reactions signal the algorithm to keep pushing the story. Before long, millions of people are exposed to the same narrative, often without questioning its origin. This creates a sense of collective validation. If everyone is talking about it, it must matter. And if it matters, it must have some truth. That is the illusion. In reality, the entire story may have started from a misinterpreted statement or an edited clip. But by the time that becomes clear, it's already too late. The narrative has taken on a life of its own. And once that happens, even silence from the people involved can be interpreted as confirmation. That is the power of perception in the digital age. One of the most important aspects of this situation is timing. Viral stories don't just appear randomly. They emerge when attention is already focused on certain individuals. Kim Kardashian has consistently remained in the spotlight, whether through business ventures, interviews, or public appearances. This constant visibility makes her a frequent subject of online discussions. At the same time, 50 Cent continues to stay relevant through social media activity and commentary on industry topics. When both names are active in public discourse, the chances of them being linked, even artificially, increase significantly. This is where coincidence turns into narrative. A statement made at one time gets connected to an event from another time. A reaction video adds interpretation. A viral tweet simplifies the entire situation into a single dramatic line. And suddenly, a complete story exists where none officially existed before. This is not a new phenomenon, but the speed at which it happens today is unprecedented. What once took weeks now happens in hours. And because of that speed, there is little room for verification. People react first and question later. This creates an environment where speculation thrives. It doesn't need evidence. It only needs attention. And once attention is secured, everything else follows. This is what makes modern media so powerful and unpredictable. It allows anyone to shape narratives, even unintentionally. And when millions participate in that process, the result is something far bigger than any single post or video. What makes this situation even more intense is how quickly audiences begin to fill in gaps that were never meant to be filled. When people hear fragments involving 50 Cent, they don't just listen to what is said, they interpret what could be implied. And that's where the narrative begins to expand beyond its original form. At the same time, Kim Kardashian represents a level of fame where every move is analyzed, every silence is questioned, and every association is magnified. This creates the perfect environment for speculation to grow. Because once audiences start connecting dots, they rarely stop to ask whether those connections are real. Instead, they focus on how convincing the story feels. And feeling is powerful. It drives engagement far more than facts ever could. This is why certain clips, even when harmless in context, can become the foundation for entire theories online. A pause in an interview, a vague statement, a reaction that seems slightly off. All of these moments get dissected, replayed, and reinterpreted until they fit into a larger narrative. And once that narrative starts gaining traction, it becomes self-sustaining. People join the conversation not because they know the truth, but because they want to be part of the moment. That participation fuels the algorithm even more. And before long, the story is everywhere. Not because it was confirmed, but because it was compelling. That is the hidden mechanism behind viral controversies. They don't need proof to spread. They only need curiosity. Another key factor driving this situation is the role of social media platforms in shaping perception. These platforms are designed to prioritize content that keeps users engaged for longer periods of time. And nothing keeps attention like controversy involving high-profile figures such as Kim Kardashian and 50 Cent. When a topic begins trending, it triggers a chain reaction. More creators start producing content around it. More viewers click, watch, and share. And each interaction pushes the story further into public visibility. But here's where it becomes complicated. The majority of this content is not investigative. It is interpretative. Creators analyze, speculate, and sometimes exaggerate to keep audiences hooked. This creates multiple versions of the same story, each slightly different but equally convincing. As a result, viewers are exposed to a constant stream of information that feels interconnected, even when it's not. Over time, these repeated narratives begin to shape perception. People start believing they understand the full picture, even though they've only seen fragments. And because those fragments are presented with confidence, they appear credible. This is the illusion created by volume. The more a story is repeated, the more real it feels. And once that feeling sets in, it becomes incredibly difficult to reverse. Even when facts emerge, they struggle to compete with the emotional impact of the original narrative. This is why viral controversies often outlive their own relevance. They are not sustained by truth. They are sustained by attention. History shows that whenever major public figures are linked within a single narrative, the impact goes far beyond the individuals involved. In this case, the connection between 50 Cent and Kim Kardashian exists primarily in the digital space, shaped by interpretation rather than confirmed events. But that doesn't reduce its influence. In fact, it often increases it. Because stories that lack clear answers tend to generate more engagement. People become invested in finding meaning, even when none officially exists. This creates an ongoing cycle of curiosity and speculation. Each new piece of content adds another layer, another possibility, another angle to explore. And as this process continues, the narrative evolves. It becomes more complex, more detailed, and more difficult to challenge. This is where audience psychology plays a crucial role. People are naturally drawn to mysteries. They want to solve them, understand them, and share their conclusions with others. And when millions of people participate in that process simultaneously, the result is a collective investigation that feels real, even without evidence. This is what separates modern viral stories from traditional news. They are not controlled by a single source. They are built collaboratively by the audience itself. And because of that, they carry a unique kind of influence. One that doesn't rely on facts but on participation. And once people feel involved, they are far more likely to believe in the story they helped create. At this stage, the narrative reaches a point where it no longer depends on its origin. It becomes something bigger, a conversation that exists across platforms, communities, and audiences. The names Kim Kardashian and 50 Cent continue to appear in discussions, not because of new developments, but because the existing narrative keeps being revisited and reshaped. This is how digital stories maintain momentum. They evolve without needing new information. Old clips resurface. Old statements get reanalyzed. And each time they are presented in a slightly different context. This constant reinterpretation keeps the story alive. It also makes it more difficult to separate fact from fiction. Because when the same content is viewed through multiple perspectives, it begins to feel layered and complex. And complexity often creates the illusion of depth. People assume that if a story has so many angles, it must have some truth behind it. But in reality, those angles may simply be variations of the same speculation. This is where critical thinking becomes essential but often overlooked. In the rush to stay updated and engaged, audiences rarely pause to question the foundation of the narrative. They focus on the latest version instead. And that continuous cycle of updates ensures that the story never truly fades. It adapts, evolves, and reappears whenever attention shifts back to the individuals involved. This is not just a moment. It is a pattern. In the end, what this entire situation reveals is not a hidden truth about celebrities, but a visible truth about the modern media landscape. The way stories form, spread, and evolve today is fundamentally different from the past. Figures like Kim Kardashian and 50 Cent are not just participants in this system, they are central to it. Their influence, visibility, and public presence make them natural focal points for attention. But attention, as powerful as it is, does not always align with accuracy. It follows emotion, curiosity, and engagement. And those elements can transform even the smallest piece of information into something massive. This is why it's important to step back and look at the bigger picture. Not just what is being said, but how it is being shared. Not just who is involved, but why they are being connected. Because once you understand that process, the narrative begins to look very different. It becomes less about hidden secrets and more about visible patterns. Patterns of engagement, amplification, and interpretation. And those patterns tell a story of their own. A story about how quickly reality can be reshaped in the digital age. And how easily perception can become stronger than proof. That is the real takeaway here. Not the rumors, not the speculation, but the system that allows them to thrive. And once you see that system clearly, you begin to understand that the biggest influence is not the celebrity. It is the audience itself.